Kenya is in a debt crisis. Over the last few years, the government has borrowed heavily from both bilateral and commercial lenders. It's borrowed in really expensive terms in terms of the interest rate.
One of the significant problems with our debt situation today as a country is the high appetite towards commercial loans. And if you look at Chapter 12 of our Constitution, debt is part of financing of development. It's not the only way that we can finance development. We can finance, a country can finance its development through grants, through concessional loans, whose terms are much fairer and better as opposed to commercial loans. But what we've seen in the last 10 years is a very high appetite for expensive loan, both in terms of interest rates, but also in terms of reduced repayment period.
So commercial loans are quite complex. You find that they are written in such a sophisticated way. And one of the challenges that brings is the lack of transparency and the secrecy. Secrecy is one of the biggest problems when you look at debt. You don't know why the money is being borrowed, what has been attached to this loan as collateral, what are the payment terms. And so lack of transparency is one of the greatest issues that really need to be addressed.
Transparency is a requirement under the law, under the Constitution and the public finance management laws. And it is very important for the taxpayer who has to bear the burden of the debt to know what is contained in the debt agreements and the agreements of procuring debt.
Yes, mimi on my personal level, hiyo deni sijui ilichukuliwa lini na nini ilifanyia na imeongeza nini kwa maisha yangu. So si mimi peke yangu, hata wenye mimi engage na wao pia they have the same sentiment. Tunajiuliza kila siku on daily basis, hiyo deni ilifanya nini na ilichukuliwa lini.
Lack of transparency leads to a lot of confusion and a lot of anxiety among the taxpayers, because it is not known what is at risk really in the event of a default. We've seen in other countries the loss of state assets as a result of default, and so it is very important for the people who bear the burden of debt to know what exactly is contained in those agreements.
So budgeted corruption is such a big problem. You find, for example, if a project is set to cost 100 billion and then it's inflated in order to take care of interest to about 300 billion, at the end of the day, you might have the project, but then you've paid 3 times the amount. This is an increase in the size of debt that we have, and at the end of the day, then we need to pay more. And when there are transitions from one government to another, and this happens a lot when they borrow more, then the next government cannot even be able to borrow for basic needs and development projects.
TISA has partnered with Oxfam in Kenya to implement the Okoa Uchumi campaign. The Okoa Uchumi campaign is a civil society initiative that was created for the purposes of promoting accountability in public debt management in Kenya.
So the strategy that we're applying is to partner with media to ensure that this message gets out, because I know that from where I sit, as much as I get information from social media, I might be running to the conventional 7 p.m., 9 p.m. news to see if it is factual, if it is true news, because we know that on social media there is a lot of propaganda. So we figured that we needed to work with mainstream media on getting this Okoa Uchumi conversation out.
Ni kushukuru TISA come through kutu organize na kutu educate about hizi vitu za deni. For sure watu wengi hawajui kwa nini tunalipia ushuru vile ilivyo sasa. Hawajui ni kwa sababu kuna deni ilichukuliwa mahali na serikali. So TISA imeweza kutupea that overview, imefungua akili yetu.
And the advantage that comes with Okoa Uchumi as a coalition is that we work with different partners who have extensive knowledge on different aspects that build up the public debt conversation.
One of the big things that we were able to do with the support of Oxfam and other partners, of course, is election agenda setting. And the idea was, as a campaign, to ensure that debt is the conversation, is a national conversation.
For the last 1 year that we have been driving on the election agenda setting theme, it worked towards our favor, because it was at this point where people wanted to understand what the government has been doing. The debt conversation became so very famous. and people wanted to understand all this, what we say, what is it about the 8 trillion shillings debt that we are in right now, what's it about the debt ceiling, what do we mean when we talk about things that we've been advocating for, like budgeted corruption.
Mapendekezo yangu kwa serikali ni watuhusishe kwa budgeting ile wanafanya, juu au wanaenda kuomba hiyo deni bila kutuhusisha, alafu wanaenda with a very big budget. Na kwa hali hiyo budget si ndio kitu wanakuja kuimplement hapa kwetu.